Welcome to the next video in our tutorial series. On the last video, we covered everything that's on the screen, and today we're going to focus everything on this little tab here, the picture of the car, which is the settings. Now, we're going to go through these top to bottom. We're going to talk about what they do when you need to adjust something, where to find what you're looking for, and you're going to be able to go back through here and find that you needed to spend some time with a lot of these options because a lot of them are preference things, and we'll get into more of that as we go along. Now, the other thing to remember as well is that there are a lot more details that we could talk about, but the idea of this video is to be quick and to the point, giving you enough information to know where things are at and how to do what with what items that we look at. And so you can come and put questions down below that we don't cover today if you need to, and somebody else will get to them. So now right out the bat, the first thing that's going to come up when you click on your settings is quick controls. And the idea of quick controls is to be the things you might use really quick each time you get in the car that would normally be found on your steering wheel or on the armrest beside the steering wheel or somewhere very accessible. So that's what's going to be coming up first. These are things like exterior lights, turning on your fog lights, adjust your mirrors, adjust your steering wheel, fold your mirrors if you need to or unfold them. You can lock the windows. There's multiple places you can do this, but this is the easiest way if you got kids in the back or whatever, you want to lock them so no one can go up and down. Great place to press it. And then you got your screen brightness. Right now, I have mine in auto for exterior lights. That just means that, and this is very common for any car nowadays, when it starts to get dark, that it's going to automatically turn on your headlights. Now, when it comes to adjusting your mirrors, when you click on a button, the way you know it's activated is because it is blue. So we click on the mirrors here, we see these pop up, left mirror, right mirror. And once you got the mirror clicked on, you see right here, it tells you how to do it all. I mean, you just move your left steering wheel, left, right, up, or down to adjust it. It's pretty self-explanatory there. That means you're using the right. That means you're on the left. Each one of these mirrors have the ability to tilt as well as fold. So tilt is when you put the car into reverse, the mirrors are going to fold down so that you can see the curb and, help you with your parking. Whereas the auto fold is, just like it says, when you put the car into park, it's going to automatically fold the mirrors in to both sides of your car. So you need to set these separately on here. Next is going to be the steering wheel, and this is just to adjust it back, forward, up, and down. And so it shows you right there exactly how to do that, and it's all done over here with the left wheel. Now keep in mind that these settings are per profile. So if you set them on your profile, any other driver that might use your car will have to do them totally different on their profile, because you can set it up your way, but when they get in and their profile gets loaded, it's going to then be on their settings. And the way you just switch it is just up here and just click on your name versus whoever else. So now the next one down is lights. And again, you got the headlights up there, fog lights, but inside your car, you have the dome lights. And this is just what auto dims and automatically turns on when you open or shut a door. One thing down here, ambient lighting. This is something that some of you may not have. Some of the newer Teslas actually don't have that option from what I hear. I've never actually seen this. In my car is a mid 2019 model. I have lights underneath the passenger seat dash, the driver's seat, and then in all the doors, the cubby holes in the doors, there's lights in there. So when this is on, when the headlights get turned on through the auto headlights, my car just kind of glows inside the car, which is really cool and I love it, but my neighbor doesn't have it in his car, which is a 2020 model. So if you see this here and you don't have it, don't be alarmed, nothing's wrong. It's just they took it out of the newer models for some reason. Down below, auto high beams, it's just as it sounds. I love it. I've had it on since the day I got the car. It works really well. And what that's going to do is that when you got this enabled, when you are out there and you're needing to have lights on, it's going to automatically turn your high beams on. But as soon as it sees the beam of another car coming towards you, it's going to automatically take and turn your high beams off, as well as when you come upon another car, when the car detects it there, it's going to turn the high beams off as well, so you're not blinding them. And it actually works really well. It seems for me that when I was testing this, each time I was about to feel awkward that I was blinding somebody and I was about to go and change it myself, the car did it as well and worked pretty well. Headlights after exit, so it's just going to turn them off after you exit the car. Steering wheel lights. I mean, that's just showing the lights on both sides of your wheel here, which is really nice to have. Next up is the locks. There's not a lot of fancy stuff going on here with the locks. A couple things to point out, that when you go to add or remove keys from here, make sure you go watch my key video on how to do all that first. It does have some extra steps. It's not as simple as just simply pressing the plus button. But you also here have the ability to lock the windows again, just like you did on the quick controls, but also put the child locks on for the doors as well. We have an unlock on park option here. So when you press park, the car is going to automatically lock, as well as when you get out of the car and walk away, the car is going to lock. And also you have a notification here for a confirmation sound. So when the car does lock, it makes a little beep noise, and it just is your extra confirmation your car has been locked. You can hear that from both inside the car and outside the car. On your display options, I have mine set to night right now, so it's easier for you guys to see. I recorded this 2 other times trying to get the brightness just right, but it is so bright inside my garage currently that it couldn't be seen. So hopefully you guys can see this like this. But normally I would have it on auto, and auto is going to do just as it sounds. It'll change it from night mode to day mode. And it does a really good job. This is another setting that I've never messed with. I've never needed to. It's switched it perfectly each time. Clean screen mode, or screen clean mode, is a very useful mode when you're trying to wipe down your screen. And how it works is you would tap your screen, the button like that, and then you can see all the fingerprint smudges. You would take your rig and wipe all the fingerprints off, and then when you are done and ready to, you know, get back to your settings, there's a button here that says hold to exit. You're going to press and hold for 3 seconds, 2, 1, and then it opens it back up again. You can set your language for your voice command. You can set your language for the navigation there. You got your time format here, 12 or 24 hours. And then we're going to talk about the energy display here for a minute, because you've got a choice here of displaying how much energy is in your car or how much distance is left. And what that's referring to is this up here next to the battery. So energy means what percentage of battery do I have left, where distance is going to show the predicted amount of miles. Now, I'm going to highly recommend you guys keep it on energy, and here's why. On distance, it shows here 258 miles. That is a fictitious number. It actually means nothing. And the reason for that is the car has no idea what roads I'm about to drive, if I'll be going uphill or downhill, if I'm going to be accelerating over the speed limit or not, if I'm going to be hard on the accelerator versus light on the accelerator, what the weather conditions are. So there's no real way of telling how many miles there actually is left to my destination. Next on the list, we have the ability to put it into kilometers or miles, Celsius or Fahrenheit, and your tire pressure display, bar or PSI. And by the way, how you know what your tire pressures are is right here. You have your cards, what they call cards. And if you swipe from the right to the left, it'll pull over your tire pressures. You have to be moving to actually see them, but that's where they're going to be. Now on the driving display, we have the acceleration with chill or standard, and that's going to be one of these preference things that I was talking about earlier. So standard is what I think a lot of people keep the car in. It's just a little bit more sporty, a little bit more responsive, where chill is going to be just like it sounds. Chill. It's going to be more laid back, not as instant when you hit the accelerator, not as jerky, because these cars are instant torque. So if you're coming from a petrol engine or a gas engine, I don't know what the proper way of saying that is, to an electric car, it's quite different. It's vastly different. The fact that when you put your foot on the accelerator, it's right now. And so sometimes people use this to get used to that and then transition over to standard. And that's the same thing with a lot of these other things. So steering mode, I have mine in sport mode. Standard mode is also great. But what they are doing is basically controlling the feel and the responsiveness of the car. And so comfort mode, the steering wheel is super light in your hands. It doesn't take much effort to really turn the wheel. Whereas you get towards sport, it's going to be a lot stiffer for, fast cornering. You're not going to get a lot of movement in the wheel. It's just a lot different feel. And again, you need to go out there and try all 3 different types to see what style really fits you. And of course, it's super easy to change anytime you want. You can do it while you're driving and really get a feel for what you like. So the next part here is regenerative braking, and this part we need to talk about for a little bit because there's a lot of questions around this. So regenerative braking is where your car takes the energy from the motor slowing down the car versus you braking to slow down the car, and it puts it back into the battery. So essentially, it's trying to replace you having to use your brakes for the car's motors slowing you down. And so low just means you're going to have a lot less of that. So where if you maybe standard would take you 50 feet to come to a complete stop when you take your foot off the accelerator at a stop sign, where low may take you 60 or 70 feet to make that exact same stop. So you need to go out there and really feel the difference on that. But both of these have just a little different amount of regenerative braking, so then that gets to the stopping mode and how you want to be stopped. So there's 3 options here. So creep, Creep is when you come down to, you know, a very low speed, and you take your feet off the pedal. It's going to slowly move forward, kind of it's going to creep. Think of it like creeping on the ground, but you have to do the work to do it. Okay, the motors are going to be moving the car on its own. So if you're on a flat surface, and you know normally the car wouldn't be moving forward because there's no gravitational pull. You're not aiming downhill. You're on a flat area. On creep, it's going to still move the car forward a little bit. Roll, on the other hand, will only go if you release your foot off the brake and there is some kind of pull to the car to move it downhill. Hold is where you're going to mostly keep it. Hold is something that was added probably 6 months ago now to these cars. And what that does is normal regenerative braking used to basically slow you down to 5 miles per hour. And with these two down here, you will only get slowed down through regenerative braking to 5 miles per hour. Both of these, you will have to use your brake to stop the car. But on hold, it'll take you all the way down from even down to right to a stop. So if I'm 30 feet from a stop sign, these other two options will pull me down to 5 miles per hour. And then when I get to where I want to stop, I got to stop the car. Whereas hold will take you all the way down to a complete stop, and then it will lock the car down. So it'll make it so it's locked there until you press your foot on the accelerator, and your car will actually show you hold up here. So it's basically like putting the parking brake on. It doesn't matter if you're on a hill, up or down. It's not going anywhere. If you take your foot off of the accelerator or the brake, it's going to stay right where it's at. So it extends it from 5 miles per hour all the way down to 0 miles per hour, and it will lock you in place. So you need to go out there and get used to them. I recommend using both of these. It gives you the maximum battery range. It's just, you know, you got a car with this kind of technology, you should really use it. Slip start is when your vehicle might be stuck in like the snow or sand or mud and you are having trouble getting out. You can turn this on and it's going to then shift the power such to different wheels to eliminate slipping, to help get you out of that spot. I thankfully have never had to try using that yet. The regular all-wheel drive got me through any snow that I was in so far, but that's a little additional help if you need it. Now let's talk about the autopilot. The autopilot's where a lot of people spend a lot of time in the settings, and it can be kind of confusing. Off the bat, you have your cruise following distance, and this is just how many car lengths you're going to be behind the car in front of you. So this is 3 car lengths. Now, it's not saying it's going to keep you 3 car lengths. It's just saying that when you're coming up onto a car, that it's going to not let you get any closer than 3 car lengths. And if you're going to get, if your speed is less than what you have your car set at, let's say your car max is set at 65, but you're going 60 now, and you're coming up on that car, it's going to slow your car down when you get 3 car lengths away. But the car, when it accelerates, you will accelerate at that 3 car lengths with that car until your car gets up to the max, and then it will pull ahead and you will stay at the max speed you've set. So you can mess with that. This can also be changed on the steering wheel using the wheel. We'll show that in other videos. A lot of this can be done either with voice commands or whatever. We'll go through a little bit of that on the end. So auto steer is the autopilot that most people think about when they think about driving in a Tesla, and this is where it keeps your car in between the 2 lines as you're going down the road. Really any kind of turn, as long as you're in autopilot, it can take it on an interstate or freeway. But that's what people think of. And I want to point out something before we go through the rest of this, and that is they all say beta. Well, 3 of the 4 on here say beta. And beta means that it is not perfect yet. So when you turn these on and you acknowledge, that's what you're doing. When you turn these on, you're acknowledging that this is in beta mode, and I think a disclosure does pop up when you do it. And you understand that it's not supposed to be perfect. It's going to make mistakes, and you need to be aware and you need to be alert to what's going on. Okay, it is at the driver's discretion to turn these things on. And beta also means that every time that you're in autopilot, whatever, and it makes a mistake and you correct it, it's sending that data back to Tesla to help improve the system. It's learning from all that data. So I would really encourage you, if you have the confidence, and it doesn't take a lot, but I'd really encourage you to keep these on and use them, because that's going to help improve this all for everybody as well. So you got your regular autopilot, which is just simply you point me in the direction, turn on the bumpers essentially, and then let me go. I'll go straight until you tell me otherwise. That's auto steer. So now navigate on autopilot is the option you get when you buy the full self-drive package. This is essentially autopilot with some bells and whistles. So autopilot is like vanilla, and this is adding on some chocolate and some caramel onto that. So, for example, when you're navigating well on autopilot, okay, that means you put a destination into your navigation system. The car now knows where it's supposed to go, so it can now help navigate while it's in autopilot, which autopilot is auto steer plus your cruise control. Okay, and so what it's going to do now is it's going to change lanes automatically. It's going to take exits for you automatically. It's going to merge from one highway to another automatically. And it can do that because it knows where you're trying to go, which is why it's calling it navigating well on the autopilot. Okay, now this is in beta as well. So there's going to be times when you're like, well, why did it do that? It didn't change lanes here when I thought it should have, this, that, and the other. And a lot of it comes back down to the settings you have here. And we're going to go through that now. So this is your navigate and autopilot settings. And the first one on here is enable at start of every trip. So a trip is not when you just get in your car and drive to the store. Okay, you may think of that as a trip, but a trip to the car means you've keyed in an address. It knows where it's going. That is a trip to the car. So when you have yes on here, that means that it's always going to assume that you want the car to drive for you. So when you're in the autopilot, when you're driving around, the big button will be in blue up here. Remember from earlier, blue means it's enabled, and that says navigate and autopilot. If you don't want the car to start with that, you turn it on to no, and then you can manually just tap the big button, make it blue anytime while you're navigating, and it'll automatically convert to navigate and autopilot and take over driving, changing lanes for you and all of that. But again, you must have the full self-drive package for that. So the next down is speed-based lane changes, and there is a massive preference here. Disabled means it just simply doesn't change lanes for you. It's still going to do autopilot things, but it won't automatically change lanes for you when it needs to. Mild is like the don't change lanes very much at all. Mad Max is change them at the most. Average is like kind of your average driver. So mild is, think of it like this. Let's say that you're going 60 miles an hour and you come up on a car that's going 65. It would let you get down to probably 5 miles an hour and then hold you there for a minute, maybe a minute and a half before it makes you change lanes. This isn't an every time thing. This is just sort of on average, this is how mild works. So the average setting is maybe it lets you drop 2 or 3 miles per hour, then within 30 seconds, really quickly, it's going to have you change lanes around that car. Sometimes it does it instantaneously. It's not consistent on when it does it. It just depends on a lot of circumstances the car is reading at the time. Whereas Mad Max, it's going to look out at the farthest range. It can, I believe it's 160 meters with the radar. And if it determines that you're going faster than that car, then it's going to get over well before the car has to slow down in most cases. There are times the average does that there as well. But the thing to remember here is that Mad Max is not darting through traffic like you would expect Mad Max to be. Average and Mad Max are very, very small difference between the two of them. Mild is like torture. You couldn't make me drive on mild. Average doesn't seem to bother me one bit. Mad Max is maybe just a little bit too much sometimes. And when I say too much, we have a lot of traffic around here, and sometimes I don't want to just keep switching lanes, in which case you have two choices. Change down the speed-based lane change is how often it does it, or just simply tap the button for navigate and autopilot, take it out of navigate and autopilot and keep it in regular autopilot until you're out of the traffic, or just do manual lane changes for a while by just hitting the gear stock. We'll show you all that in the tutorial series coming up. And then when you're out of traffic, just put it back on navigate and autopilot by tapping the big button, and then that's another way to do it. But experiment with that, see what you like best. Require lane change confirmation. So when you're new, I would recommend putting this to yes. And that just means that when the car sees that there's a need to change a lane, what it's going to do is it's going to alert you and say, I want to change a lane. I need you to confirm this before I do it. And how it does that is a little button on your navigation display up here. It's going to pop up a little question. You can tap that to confirm the lane change, or you can hit the the stalk on the left side for putting your blinker on. That will also confirm it. I always keep it on no for a couple reasons. One, I'm very confident with it. I've done this so much that I trust the car is not going to change a lane when there's a car there or when it's dangerous. I started off over here, and then as I built confidence, went that way. Also, the car does require you to have your hand on the wheel to do this. So if your hand, for whatever reason, was not on the wheel at the time it wanted to change lanes, it would not change the lane. Your hand needs to be on the wheel, and then what it will do to let you know it's doing it is it will vibrate, is assuming you have it on, as well as chime you. So even though I don't have to confirm it, it will chime to me that it's going to change lanes. It will vibrate the steering wheel. And of course, if you don't want those things, you can put it over here to off, but I would recommend keeping some kind of notification on so you know what your car is doing. Next thing down is traffic light and stop sign control. And this is one of the newest things that's come out. And here, this is where we're stopping for your stoplights, stopping for stop signs. It's still very much in beta testing. It does work very, very well. but we go through that in other videos. We're not going to go in that right now, but this is a setting that you have to actually be in park to turn on. These other settings you can control, like you're customizing and all that while you're in Autopilot, but a lot of these you have to actually be in park to actually turn on initially. So full self-driving visualization preview. So over on your left-hand side here, as you're driving, you're seeing all kinds of things like garbage cans, cones, people, all that stuff, street lights, stop signs. Having that enabled puts all that on your screen. Summon is something that everyone has heard about. This is where we basically want to call the car to us or send to another location within a certain distance. When that is enabled, you're able to do that. Now you have to have the full self-drive package to have that option, so you may not see that on your screen. Don't panic. It's no big deal. Just go and spend $8,000 and you can have it. I believe it's $8,000 here in a couple days anyway. And you get some controls here for Summon. So when you're in the custom controls here, you've got the bumper clearance. And this is basically telling the car, when you go up to something, how close do I want you to be to it? And for example, I all the time have my car parked in my garage without me being in the car. So what I'll do is I'll pull up at home in the driveway, I'll grab all my stuff, and I'll, it's a little bit tighter in my garage. I'll double tap the park here, and then I'll get out of the car. When I get out of the car and shut the door, the car then will then drive into my garage and park for me automatically. In fact, where I'm sitting right now is perfectly lined up in my garage, and the car parked itself in here while I was going through my front door 20 feet to my left. So summoning distance is going to be the distance in which your car is summoned to you. And so you can kind of mess around with that setting and what you want that to be. The absolute maximum is 40 feet. Now, that's not saying that you can't be further than 40 feet when you summon the car. What it's saying is just the distance when you tell the car to go somewhere, how far it's going to go before it stops and asks for another confirmation. So, for example, we're not talking about the across the parking lot summon. We're talking about when you tell the car, hey, go straight or go backwards. Okay, there's a setting in your summon app that just you can say go forward, go backwards. Okay, that will just go up to whatever distance you have set here. And so assuming no sensors stop the car, it'll go that full distance. So I have mine set all the way here to 40, so it'll go full 40 feet before it stops, and then I have to then tell it again to go another 40 feet. Side clearance I have set for tight. I want it to be able to go into my garage and not worry too much about what's around it. It's still quite a distance. I still probably have 3 feet or so around my car at tight. This just expands the boundaries for which it will stop the car. I keep mine on tight. And require continuous press I have on no. So what that's referring to is on the app, when you're trying to make the car do any form of summon, you have the ability to either tell it to go by just pressing, and then it will go until you press again to stop, which is what I have it set to. Or would you have it on the way that I call like the learning way, which is you press and hold, and while your finger is on the summon button, it will go straight or back or come to you, whichever option you're doing at the time. And when you release, it automatically stops. So they're all the same. They all work well. Not one's more wrong than the other, but this is where you set up your preferences there for that. Standby mode is what gives you the come to me option on the front of your Tesla app when you open it. Again, assuming you have the full self-drive package. I have mine off just because I don't really ever use it, and it drains battery. I think it's around 1% an hour that it drains. I've heard higher or lower. That's just kind of been the average number I've heard. But again, when it's on, your car never really goes to sleep. It's just sitting there in a parking lot, and you could just say, come right to me. If you don't have this on, then what you need to do is go on to the summon part of the app. Again, we're going to go through all that in the part of the tutorial that goes to the app. We're not doing that now. But when this is off, then you have to basically go on the map and say, go to this location, which just happens to be your location, and it'll go that way. So this is a really neat feature if they wanted to come directly to you. Otherwise, you got to pick a specific location. And when it is on, you can say exclude home, exclude work, exclude favorite places, so that when you are in those places, like me right now in my garage, it's not actually draining my battery sitting here right now because I've excluded these places and it knows via GPS that I am home. So next down is your speed limit warning. You can have it off, displayed, or chime. Now what this means is this. Up here above the car, there's a line that divides this top little section from your car and from the display down here. And when you're going, you got the speed limit displayed right here, what your max is. When it says display, it's going to show you, how much over the speed limit you're going. This will actually go blue, and a blue line will go along here to show you that you're going over the speed limit or under it. And if you want it to chime, then you can click that, and it will basically tell you when you're speeding. But I don't know why anybody would do that. Now, speed limit down here, relative or absolute, you can have it offset a little bit for whatever reason. I don't know of anyone who's done that, but I'm sure there's a reason for it if it's there. You got forward collision warning. I have mine set to medium. I should probably put it early. But what it does is if the car looks ahead and sees the gap between you and the car in front is not closing at the distance it feels it should, it's going to pop up a warning. It's going to turn the car in front of you red, and it's going to go beep, 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 and it's going to let you know, hey, there's a car in front that I think you might hit, so, wake up, kind of a thing. And so late just means it's going to let you get a lot closer before it's going to notify you. Early is going to mean it's going to be dinging you a lot. So medium is kind of that average, right in the middle, that people seem to like. It's what I like. I think it does a good job. One way you see it a lot of times too is if the cars in front have stopped and you're still on the accelerator, even if you're not going really fast towards them, if you're putting your foot any pressure on the accelerator, it will come up a lot easier and tell you, hey, those guys are stopped up there. And sometimes you can't see it because your eyes don't really pick up the car that well, not moving in the intersections or whatever, but the car's radar knows it instantly. So it works really, really well. Lane departure avoidance. So this goes with this first switch down here. So this is just going to assist you when you have this one on. So let's say that you're driving down the road and you start to kind of drift over one of the lines. What this is going to do is it's going to, when it's on assist, automatically kind of steer you back into your lane. So the picture on the road, the line will turn blue, letting you know which line you're going over, and then it will steer you back into your driving lane. Warning will let you go over the line, but it'll just yell at you. Then you got your blind spot collision warning chime. So if you're going to, let's say, change lanes on the freeway and there's a car there, it's going to yell at you not to do it. Emergency braking. Now, this is a really great feature that you're seeing on a lot of high-end vehicles nowadays, and that is when the car senses something that you're about to hit and you haven't pressed enough on the brake yet or whatever, it's going to automatically stop your car. A little example of that was I was coming onto I was merging onto a freeway the other day, and the guy, instead of merging, did a U-turn right in front of me, but he did it really slow, and so I was going, and the car just, I was actually giving the car, I was accelerating. I had my foot pressed down, and the car in front of me just stopped, and so my car totally stopped before I hit them, about 2 feet from hitting the car. Because the corner of their car just dead stopped, and I was actually on the accelerator, so it saved me from hitting the car, which I was so thankful for. So make sure you keep that on. Really great. Kid walks behind you, whatever, you want to be able to stop. Obstacle aware acceleration, and this is where if you're going at a slow speed and the car senses an obstacle, it's going to control the speed so you don't hit the obstacle or let it have time to get out of the way. So a lot of these things you need to kind of just leave on. They're there for your safety. There's no reason to really turn them off. Now, when we get into navigation on the top here, this is controlling the volume of the person talking back to you. And again, you can change her voice or his voice over, on those previous options we already went through. So automatic navigation. So this is interesting. So if you have your home address and your work address programmed into your car, which you do through the navigation pane, what it'll do is when you get in your car, as soon as you get in and sit down, you'll notice that your map is already dialed into your office. So it's already navigating you there or your work. And then when you get in your car at work, it's going to automatically be navigating you at home to home. And so you may be thinking, why on earth would I want my car to tell me how to get home? I'm pretty sure I know how to get home. Well, because the idea is that this car is going to be driving you, and the car needs to know where it's supposed to be going. And so you always have to have something keyed into the car, an address in the navigation for the car to know where it's supposed to be going. So this just saves you the hassle of when you want the car to drive you home, which right now just means, merging freeways and changing lanes on the freeways. This just saves you the hassle of typing in an address or even thinking about it. You just get in the car, and as long as you're going home, it's going to send you to those locations. And if you're not going to your home or work, then you just cancel it and it's fine. The alternative to this, or I guess the extension of this, is that if you have a calendar that you have synced to your car, then what you can do is in the events on your calendar, if you just put the address of where you're going to be going, it'll read that instead, and it'll say, okay, well, 30 minutes from now, Cody's supposed to be at a doctor's appointment, and it'll put that address automatically in there rather than my home address. So if you're getting your car at Fred Meyer's and you're, let's say, 40 minutes, I think it's an hour that it automatically puts it in, within an hour. Let's say I'm at Fred Meyer's, but I need to go, somewhere else to meet a friend. As long as it's in my calendar with an address, it'll automatically have that in there, and it will then have that ready to go for me when I get there. Trip Planner is a beta program that they're working on that actually works pretty good right now already. And what it does is it adds superchargers when you need them. So if you put in a trip and it sees in there that you know, you've got 40 miles less in your, or you got basically 40 miles to go further than your battery is going to be able to go, or whatever. The car basically says you don't have enough charge to get there. It's going to automatically route you to the nearest supercharger so you can get some charge and continue to make it your destination. You don't have to worry about, will I make it to my destination? If the car senses you won't, which it always will sense that, it will send you to a supercharger station to get charged up. Now, you have to be aware, though, that if you don't want to use superchargers, if you don't want to pay for the supercharging, then maybe you want to use like a Fred Meyer drip charge or a buddy's house or whatever, then you don't want to have that on because it's going to mess with your navigation if it was needed. So just kind of keep that in mind. Online routing is just simply saying that it's going to do like Google Maps or Apple Maps or any of the other mapping systems do nowadays. It's going to take traffic into account when it is going to be figuring out your location and your destination path. And so obviously keep that on. You do not need the premium connectivity to use this. So even if you don't pay the $9.99 a month, it still will use data to calculate this and traffic and all that, to calculate your destinations. It'll still reroute you, still do all those things. You just won't display them on your map. Whereas on my map, because I have connectivity, it shows you the traffic and all of that. So you have to decide if that's worth it for you or not. But we can talk about that another time. I have it set to reroute if it saves me more than 5 minutes. So if I'm going down the road and the car determines there's another path that's quicker, I want it to let me know if it's going to save me at least 5 minutes. I can deny it, I can say no, but at least I want to be notified about it so I have that choice. You can change that up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or down to 2 minutes or 1 minute. So that's kind of your settings there. But 5 minutes I don't always take. It's not that big of a difference, but if I want to, then I want to at least know about it. Obviously, you can avoid ferries, tolls, and HOV lines or lanes. For safety and security, up here is just simply showing you that your parking brake is on. If it's not, it'll be telling you that right there. If you need to power off your car for any reason, you would press that to power off your car. Your speed limit mode, if you wanted to change your speed limit, and this is basically setting a max to it. So let's say someone's using your car and you want to make sure they don't take it out and rally it and put your car in danger. You can turn this switch on and then you can set the max speed that the car is allowed to go. You will need the PIN to do this, of course, which is good because then people can't change it. So you should know your PIN already if you have your car. If not, you'll set it. So Sentry mode and dash cam. So let's talk about these, what the differences are here and what the settings are changing here. So when this is on, this is basically your security system. So you're not the one that says record this or that. The Sentry mode says if you come within a certain distance of the car, I'm going to record it. And it looks out a long ways to see what comes around the car. People drive in front of you, people walk in front of you, even 20, 30 feet away, it's going to pick that up, it's going to record it, it's going to flash the lights to let them know that they've been seen. It's going to put a little display up here, a little picture of a recording symbol when it's enabled. You can say, don't record at home. I park in my garage, so I don't need it on. It does drain the battery. I think it's again 1% or so an hour. So I keep that excluded at home, but at work and everywhere else, I have it always on. And then if you want to view your footage, you just come up here and hit launch viewer, and then you can take a look at any of the stuff that's recently saved. Dash cam is different. Dash cam is where you tell the car what to save. So let's say you're driving down the road and something exciting happens in front of you. Maybe it's an accident. Maybe someone is doing the polka in the middle of the freeway, whatever. You can then save that footage. And here's the thing to remember about this. This is not like the dash cams you just buy where you have to press and then it records. This is on a 1 hour loop where the last minute is falling off consistently and you're constantly saving the last 30 or 60 minutes that just happened. So if something is going on right now in front of you, you want to wait a little bit till the event is over, then come up here and tap the camera, hit save footage, and it will save the last 10 minutes of footage that just happened. So what that's really great for is capturing all the things that are unexpected, like an accident happens that you're involved in. Well, you come up here and tap that, it's going to automatically save it. If you're really concerned about that, you can turn this option on, and that just means that whenever you honk the horn, it's going to save the last 10 minutes of data as well. And so that is something that's pretty cool. But I keep mine off because I like the ability to honk at people without recording. I don't feel like I need that, but you can turn that on there. So park assist chime, so that just if you get too close to something, It's going to, you know, ding at you so you know you're close. It'll also show you the distance to that thing, wherever it is, all around the car here. I mean, these Teslas are amazing. Once you get in and driving this thing, you're going to be blown away by the graphics and all that gets involved. Joe mode just basically makes all those chimes and everything a lot less loud. Security alarm is always enabled. Pin to drive basically makes it totally James Bond mode. Makes it so even if someone stole your phone, stole your key, gets into the car, they still have to enter a pin to actually drive the car, which is pretty cool. Cabin overheat protection. This is where you're going to have it set to where, well, first of all, if it's on, it just means use AC, use any means possible to keep the car under 105 degrees for up to 12 hours. If you say no AC, it does the same thing. It just blows air, though, with no AC. Again, you can click on any of these little exclamation marks to learn more about these things. And then allowing mobile access just says you can control the car via the Tesla app or other app that has permission to do that. These are things like adjusting the temperature, getting your seats heated up. You can, you know, see the speed of the car if someone else is driving it, all kinds of things. You can put it in valet mode from the phone, control the speed from the phone in terms of like setting the max. You can do a lot of stuff like that. Enable, disable, Sentry mode. So, and then data sharing. When you press this is what it is basically going to send data from your car, cameras, all that stuff to Tesla. That so maybe something went wrong and you're like, that was crazy. You could click that and you should read this. Agree to it, then it'll send that data to Tesla. On the service side, there's some pretty neat things in here. So inside the hood, right, the wipers are actually down underneath it. So if you want to change your wipers, you have to actually go like this. It will lift the wipers out of the hood, and then you can change them. Just make sure you put it back when you're done. If you want to adjust the headlights, you would press that button. It'll pop up on the screen, and it will start, to show you. It gives you the ability to adjust the headlights. So what you can do after it's leveling them, like right now it's automatically leveling them, but you can go in here and put your left one higher, you can put your right one lower, you can move them left and right, and you just use the wheel over here to do that. But by just pressing it, it's going to re-level them. So if you look out there and you see that one of your lights a little bit higher than the other, you can just press the button, it'll re-level them, and if it's still not right, then you can manually do it here. So towing is what you would press if your vehicle is about to be towed and you need the wheels to be able to freewheel. You'd hit towing there. If you're putting new wheels on your car, you know wheel configuration right there, notifications, factory reset back to, and then you got your owner's manual. So that's all available right there. And then the last area here is software, and this is what's going to tell you how many miles are on your car. Right now, my car is 9,926 miles. You see the VIN number there. You can see additional vehicle information there. When you click on that, what it's going to do is show you all the little details of your car. Not a lot of things that really mean much to me, but there's some things in there, I guess. It shows you when the termination of your premium connectivity is, which is if you bought anything but the standard, or if you bought basically the full self-drive or premium, then you have a whole year of premium connectivity, which is again Netflix, all the internet, that kind of thing. If you didn't buy those models, you have 30 days. But then again, you can add it through here when it's needed. Down below, you have the software update model one that you're on. And then down below here, you have your preference for this. So standard is going to make it so that you get your software updates a lot later than people on advanced do. So on advanced just says, I want to be a part of the betas. I want to be a part of all the new software when they come out. It does not mean you're getting part of the first wave of it. I haven't figured out exactly who gets it first. It doesn't seem like anyone really knows who gets the updates first. Up until this last update, I've been one of the first people, one of the first waves, I guess I should say, to get the updates. It seems like every time I posted I got a new update, everyone's like, that's crazy. Anyway, that just because you enable it doesn't mean you're going to be a part of that. There's still people that wait 2-3 weeks after it seems like everyone else gets it before you actually got yours. So something to be aware of there. But keeping it on advance puts you in the ring for that. Now, one thing to notice too is that the glove box is here, and it doesn't matter. There's no panel you have to click on, no tab here to get to glove box. It's always available there. And the last thing we'll talk about to do with settings is that so many of these things can be actually controlled by the voice command. You don't have to actually go in here. So for example, I could click on voice command, open glove box, and the glove box opens. It will not close though. You'll have to close it yourself. I could say, show me my driving settings. And just like that, your driving settings. Show me my autopilot settings. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can do without having to actually take your hands off the wheel, which is great. This car has a lot of great stuff like that. We'll go through the navigation on another video, or the voice commands on another video in the tutorial series on how to use it soon. They keep adding stuff, so we're going to get to that here shortly. But that is what's going on the settings display for now. If you guys have any more questions, as I'm sure you will do, post them down in the comments below. I try to get to them within 2 or 3 days of posting the video. And then after that, probably won't get to them at all. I'm working on new stuff, but other people are really good about answering questions when they're posted on there. So definitely can do that there. Also, please make sure and like and comment on the video. And the reason for that is that the way the YouTube algorithm works, the more likes and comments that a video gets, the more it circulates out there to people who are actually looking for detailed information on this. It makes it more discoverable. So if you guys could help me out with that, that'd be great. And if you want to see more of the tutorial series, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I'm releasing at least one of these tutorials every single week. See you guys on the next video.